All right,
I'll
it's
tell
recording.
you the
All right,
story.
it's recording. It's recording.
Okay, so we're recording. Um, fuck. So I'm here with Frostbite Films.
Hello.
Jonathan
Yeah,
is here. Uh-huh.
that's me.
And we're gonna talk about the thing he did, which is Batman 60, his series, his Pride and Joy.
Yeah.
So, first off, some information about the show Batman 60 is, well, of course, it takes place in the 1960s. It's about Batman, his life troubles, just navigating through Gotham, the time period. Um, you have racial tensions that are mixed in there.
Yeah.
You really feel the time period through the music. I think some of the shots in the show are really good. They get progressively better
Thank you.
as the show goes on. And season 2 is kind of in production. It's like post-production, basically, for writing right now.
Yeah, it's an interesting story.
It's been a whole process.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm the star of the show, Kyle Fiddler.
Yeah. It's fun. It's kind of funny how Kyle Fiddler is like inadvertently like the most important character in the entire series because he like causes all of the drama.
Yeah, he kind of just fucking dies.
Yeah, and then he just dies in the very beginning. Like his
Yeah,
Kyle Fiddler as a villain. Okay, you guys don't understand. Kyle Fiddler is the main villain of the series because he's not. The metrics that require a villain. In terms of like standards with like I don't know. Oh, I have super strength. I have super speed. No, Kyle Fiddler's main power is his legacy. Okay, that is that is what makes him the best villain of all time. Besides Joker, of course. Yeah, those are just my
yeah.
opinions, of course.
So, when it comes to Batman 60, and we're going to get into this later, because I don't want to talk about this right now. It's too juicy to talk about right now.
Okay.
But there's some controversy. There's been some drama behind the scenes. But
There's always controversy.
before we get into that, I'd like to talk about what the show was going to be originally before it became the Batman 60 that we know today.
Oh, okay.
Because I was there for that.
Yeah, those were dark times. Quite literally, I used the dark gray suit. That was a really, I mean, it kind of explains Crime War. Like, I had planned Batman 60 before Crime War. I actually filmed some of Batman 60 before Crime War, which you can actually see in episode 1, the prison scenes. That's why they're so terribly animated, whatever. Yeah, I animated those in like 2018, before Crime War came out. And I just remember, I mean, the original plans were really bizarre. Like there were babies that were gonna die. Bruce Wayne was speaking of Bruce Wayne, he was gonna be Thomas Wayne. It wasn't gonna be Bruce Wayne. That was interesting. He was gonna be insane. He was gonna fight the Riddler, obviously. Phantasm was never incorporated in the story.
Yeah, that was like a late thing.
Yeah, and neither
was a
was
lot.
yeah, and same with Andrea as well.
remember. Yeah, I remember there was a lot going on with Phantasm, especially even now. I don't even know how the fuck we got to this point with Phantasm because I remember the original because I know the identity of Phantasm.
Yeah, what even is Phantasm? I don't. Anyway,
Like,
I watched Mask of the Phantasm one day and I was kind of struggling with what I wanted to do with Batman 60, and then I realized, what if I just marry the ideas? I had Phantasm be in the story, I had Andrea be in the story. I adapted that kind of like a super dramatic, like, oh, I need happiness kind of thing. And I thought that would be kind of interesting. It would be an interesting approach because I haven't really seen anyone else do that in a Batman story before. And Mask of the Phantasm, I don't know. I thought it was one of the greats back then. So I decided, why not? Why not try this out? And I guess it kind of became its own thing in the end. But you can definitely see the influence in the earlier episodes, like episodes 1 and 2. From like other works and stuff. I was still trying to figure things out. But yeah.
yeah, I remember the whole thing that we were doing Because I was basically, I don't want to say I was there for the entire process, because I know I wasn't there for the entire process, but I feel like I was there for a good chunk of it. I
Yeah.
remember the original plans when you told me you wanted to do Thomas Wayne. I remember my ignorant ass shooting that down, and I was like, no, don't do Thomas Wayne. I think at one point I was like, do Thomas Wayne? But that was
Yeah.
because I was thinking about like doing Flashpoint shit, and I was like, yeah, no, that won't work.
Yeah.
The thing is, basically, I've had this whole character arc, and I'm just like, I don't give a fuck anymore. So that's my current standing.
Exactly.
Um,
So basically,
and
the fact that he's Bruce Wayne and not Thomas Wayne will forever haunt his grave. Because he ruined Batman 60, and that's on him.
yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
You
All
got
right.
that
So
situation.
you said something about controversy.
Oh, controversy. Yeah. So, juicy. So basically, in terms of controversy behind Batman 60, of course, you have the original plans for Batman 60, Thomas Wayne. Well, the reason that got scrapped was because of some stuff. And then you go on to episode 1, and that garnered some stuff. But even before that, the original thing, the thing that sent this whole ball spiraling and rolling to the shit pile that it is now was Crime War. So,
Yeah. Well, okay. Batman 60, while it may be like the defining series on my channel, it's just a reaction to Crime War. That's the entire show. It's just a reaction to Crime War. Me desperately attempting to like redeem myself after a bunch of people like didn't like it, and it was an interesting time. Like I made it basically the polar opposite of Crime War. I made it lighthearted, campy, animated series-esque as opposed to the BVS undertone. And I added in a bunch of campy villains. I don't know. I thought it'd be kind of interesting. Yeah.
yeah, so I. There was a whole period. We we were really trying to bucker down and like root the show into something completely different than what it should have been. And I know that you've been working on that with season 2, trying to make season 2 something that you can really be proud of,
Yeah.
something that you can make for yourself and not for other people. So that's why season 2 is probably going to take some time to come out. But I remember there was this whole period where like you were trying to be really comic book accurate and like, respect the comics. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think the problem was is that you're trying to force it to like be something that it wasn't. And I think that's why when episode 3 came out, which is when you really just like put yourself in the story.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I'd agree with that because like I mean, people like episodes 1 and 2, but they've always kind of just been like the side pieces to me. Like episode 1 was just like testing the waters, trying this new style. And then episode 2 was literally just episode 1 but like a bit better. And then episode 3 was when the show actually kind of came into its own, which is definitely a good thing. I mean, I had worked on a lot of it in 2019. I'd say the majority of it was in 2019. Because I started scripting right away after episode 2, but I don't know. I guess I took a break from YouTube at that time.
Yeah, it was like a 6 months discrepancy between 2 and 3.
Yeah, so that was a good thing because it allowed me to get time to think. Originally, episode 3 was kind of this watered down version of episodes 1 and 2. It was the same kind of like tone, format, and structure. And in a lot of ways, yeah, I'd want to see a story like that. But I mean, as curious as I would be to say, like, oh, what would happen if Batman 60 just, like, kept on this path? In many ways, the fact that episode 3 kind of changed the game is kind of my favorite part about the show, because it's not what you would expect. It kind of evolves into this different thing. Because there's a lot of versatility with the show itself because of how different the episodes are. So that's why I like episode 3, because it's kind of like, it's the episode that you didn't expect, but it's the episode that you kind of needed, I guess, to make the show what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, I think that there was a really positive response to the show after episode 3.
Yeah.
Well, of course, that didn't stay long, but it was appreciated. appreciated.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That the show finally got some recognition. And I know that one of the things that you like is like big productions about like the things that you were really passionate about. I know Martian Manhunter, what you're working on right now, something I'm really excited to see because I'm excited to see something that you're really passionate about. And
Yeah, thanks.
Voyager is something that you're working on too. That's been going through a lot of changes, but I'm still excited to see it because it's about space, and I know you really like space.
Yes, the Final Frontier. Most of that was based off of Space Odyssey when I first made Voyager, and then I realized how bad of a movie that was. Debate me if you think it's good, but that was an interesting time. So it got like really uninspired, but yeah. Anyway, right. So I guess we're kind of jumping around. Do you just want to start at like the beginning or like just like moving forward, I guess, and like a progression of like chronological events? Like I don't know, you can talk about like starting with episode 1 and then just kind of going forward.
Yeah. So
All right. Okay.
I guess the thing about episode 1 for me, from my perspective, was I'd been talking to Jonathan for a minute now. We were basically
like a hot minute, not
Yeah.
too long, just like
Yeah,
good amount.
we're not like I have his number now, but like not then.
Yeah.
So by then we were like friends, but like we weren't like.
But
close.
we weren't like in a relationship yet. We weren't like at that level.
Yeah. So I think the thing about going into episode 1 from Crime War was that it was probably really difficult, I imagine, going from the things that you want to do to the things that you're being like forced to do, but like while also still trying to keep that same like respect for yourself and respect for your work. So I remember my involvement with episode 1 was basically, hey Josh, I need you to voice this character. Hey SS, I need you to voice this character. And that's basically where it started, because he can't get voice actors to save his fucking life.
Yeah, that is factual. I'll admit to that.
Yeah, so he was just on a call with me and SS, and he was like, I need you guys to voice these characters. I need you guys to like do this. And the thing is, I had done voice acting before that, but I had done voice acting. It's like, yeah, I spoke lines, but I haven't done shit that's like actual acting.
Yeah. I think the interesting. Sorry, what?
I feel like working with you was like transformative in a way, kind of like with voice acting, because I actually had to like try. I mean, I worked on Crime War, but like my involvement with Crime War was like so minuscule that it didn't really even matter. I voiced Alfred. When I originally said I was just gonna voice Alfred as a joke, but he's like that serious.
Yeah, I took him seriously, and now I have someone who is actually British, but at the same time he sounds even younger than you. So maybe that's a good thing. Maybe I don't know, but it is what it is.
Yeah. So yeah, that whole thing started as a joke because I used to voice Alfred for Masterworks.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, get me, but he didn't even know that, so I don't know why I expected him to get that. But
yeah.
So I voiced Alfred. I voiced Mad Hatter.
You voiced Kyle Fiddler.
I voiced Kyle Fiddler.
You voiced like everyone. Because here's the thing about my videos.
News Anchor, my personal favorite character.
Yeah. Besides, like, your main players, like, Bruce, Riddler, Andrea, Gordon, I feel like besides them, all of the other characters, their voices are determined by whoever I'm in a call with at the time. Because normally I'm on calls when I'm editing, and I'll be like, hey, can you voice act this? Hey, can you voice act this? It's pretty simplistic, but honestly, I think it gets the job done. I try not to do that much anymore because sometimes it just gets repetitive, and then you have the same person like 5 times in a row. I think episode 5 had like, I think it clocked in at like 5 Agone Lego Productions, cameos. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
There was a lot of him in episode 5, and there was a lot of you in episode 3.
Yeah, I voiced the most in episode 3.
Yeah, so that was interesting. But I'd say for the most part, like besides voice acting, as far as voice acting goes, I still feel like the way that it worked with episode one was just kind of like I'd had a bunch of debates about Crime War, and I was kind of done with Crime War at that point. And then it's just like, okay, let me do this. So I kind of just like did my thing for a bit, and then it came out, and then I believe that everyone was pleasantly surprised when they saw episode one. Because that's like, episode one was like really what sold everyone on the show, which was good. It was looking back, people don't really like it, but like at the time, it definitely was enough to sell them on the show, which was exciting. And I don't know, I guess it got really good reception, so I was just excited to be there at that point, and I was ready to work on the second one.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the thing for me going into the show was that my involvement was more as like a supervisor slash voice actor. Like, and by voice actor I mean like if I was in the call or if you needed someone to voice act, you could just like hit me up and be like, hey, can you voice act this character? But no, I really do like the show. I think, your opinions on the show have like changed over time.
Yeah, my opinions always change about that show every time that I watch it.
Yeah, I know you just got done watching episode 3.
Yeah, I was just rewatching it before the interview, so it was an interesting insight because I don't really pay much attention to the earlier episodes as I do like the finale.
Yeah, so I mean, I just think that the show is something special in of its own. I think, even if the opinions of the show change over time, I think that it was something that was really fresh. I think it's something that was needed. I've seen a lot of like younger book filmers, and I guess like you can take that how you want. I know that some people don't really validate younger book filmers. Like by younger book filmers, I don't mean like people who just started out like young kid book filmers who don't like really care about like scripts or like things like that. Like you put a character arc in your video, and they're like, oh wow.
Yeah, that's the thing, guys. If you want people to say that your brick film is good no matter what and not even consider if it's actually bad, just give your villain a motivation and like you're done. Like you're set. That's literally all you need in a brick film to make it good these days. Then again, you needed even less back in the day, so I guess that's kind of an improvement, sadly. But yeah, I'd say just like it's not that hard to, make a traditionally good story. You just have to. I guess the real challenge isn't making a traditionally good story. It's just like going the farthest that you can with what you want to do. That's what I've always tried to do. But yeah.
I think, I think that it was needed. It was fresh. It was new. It was something that brought new life to the channel. Something that I think, at least during the time, you could be proud of, and you could had a pretty decent reception. I would say when it started getting tipsy was around episode 4. I feel like it was always like getting bashed like after. And the thing is, it's funny because the episodes themselves didn't get bashed when they came out. That was only episode 5. The episodes would get bashed after the next episode came out.
Yeah.
So, episode 1 was perfectly fine. People were like, "Oh, this is an improvement." Episode 2 comes out, people start shitting on episode 1.
Yeah, that was an interesting
episode
thing.
Episode 3 comes out, people are like, "Yo!"
Yeah, when episode 3 came out, like the views just like stopped on episodes 1 and 2. It was just over. It was so sad. I mean, they have like 1,000 views at this point, so I'm okay with it. But it's still, there is a decent influx at this point of views on each video. But I don't know. I just kind of found it funny how like, we think one thing is good and then we watch the next. Everyone has their own opinions on which episode is the best. I guess it kind of depends on who you ask. But I even know someone who thinks episode 2 is the best, which that was interesting. But I'd say when it comes down to it, it's also just because like the series, it changes a lot, and that's a good thing and a bad thing, like I said before, because it's a bad thing because like you can't really watch it congruently without kind of being, I guess, not thrown off, but just like noticing it, and it's kind of odd that like the series is like getting darker It's getting more, dare I say, artistic in a way. It's not really following the not generic, but like traditional constructs that would constitute making a, I don't know, like an older Batman 60 episode, like one or two, or even the New Year's special, because that was a bit traditional in terms of storytelling as well. But I think it was interesting because, at least to me, the show really only started with episode three, because episode three is probably my favorite one because of how it subverted expectations, and also I was just the one I was most passionate about, I guess. So that was really nice, I guess. I didn't have to just like think, what's the generic villain motivation? Instead, I just thought, what can I relate to? And I'll do that. So I definitely enjoyed that a lot more, I guess, than what I was doing before. But yeah.
Yeah, I think what I really enjoy about the show, at least from a behind the scenes perspective, is seeing you grow as a writer, seeing you grow as a creator, really starting to value your own work, value your own opinions on certain things.
Yeah.
The stopping of trying to seek validation in other places.
Oh, yeah, guys. In episode one, all right, listen. Batman 60 is basically a story about me if you like know me as a friend, and you can kind of read between the lines. But episode one, I used to like to make sure that like everybody would be okay with like what I was making. I was so scared that everyone was just gonna like not like it or whatever. And I kept seeking validation. Like I sent you the outline, right, Josh? I sent you the outline. I said, "Hey, is this a good Batman 60 outline?" You were just like, "You know what? Do
Yeah.
it." And I was like, "Okay." And then immediately all my worries went away now that I had validation that I was good. Nowadays, I kind of just like I do whatever. You know, like for episode 5, for example. I mean, I like and I don't like episode 5 because it was, I don't know, but sometimes people will say criticisms and I'll be like, "Oh, that's kind of stupid." Like, I don't know. Someone said that the Riddler voice was weird, or that he didn't sound like he was being emotional, but like that's the point. Just things like that are kind of just, I don't know. I feel like I understand more, but like if they were to ask me, if someone were to say, "Haha, great video, 11 out of 10, but that Riddler voice is a little funky though," you best believe that episode 2 would have opened up with a Riddler like monologue about being super emotional, super realistic, and just like I would have changed the voice actor. In fact, I would have just made it someone else. Like that's how much I cared back then. It was kind of, it was sad, but it was also kind of comedic. Because like I would ask people questions and annoy the hell out of them.
Me,
Yeah, I asked everybody questions, and then eventually they just get yelled at. So
yeah, I think we were talking about that earlier about the outlines. I remember you asked me about like my thoughts on outlines when we were talking about the project we were working on.
yeah,
The thing about like getting people to go over your scripts is like you only do that if you think there's something wrong with it, or like you think that it's not good enough to like come out. And I'm not saying that like you only get people to check over your stuff or read it because you think that it's bad, but I kind of am at the same time because it's like
like it means that you're not fully confident, because like
yeah,
why else would you ask? I guess.
yeah, it's like you have to get into the habit of like putting out work that you enjoy for yourself, not for
Yeah,
other people. Because the thing is, people are so different. People who like to go by these like objective subject. Like, who gives a fuck? Who cares? Like, if I watch something and it's boring, I don't give a fuck if it's objectively good. It's a waste of my time. Like, I don't care.
yeah,
Like life's too short to like worry about like if this movie's objectively or subjectively good. I don't give a fuck. Like, whatever the experience that I had with it was, it like that's the truth for me. That's what I'm gonna take away. Like if I watch a show like Euphoria and I don't take shit away from it, fine. But if you do take something away from it, that's cool too. I mean, it's art is not meant to just be seen in a bubble or like a box. It's made for the creator. It's made for the audience. It's made to be
yeah.
interpreted.
Except for like Night of the Shadows, because that's objectively terrible.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, but that's like the exception. That's the one exception.
Green Leaf, you're bad.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, I guess like I kind of feel like I elaborated on episodes 1 and 3. Do you have any other episodes you would like me to comment on, I guess, or like ask questions about?
Okay, so let me pull some questions out of my head.
Sure.
So, did you ever feel like you really had the opportunity to like direct somebody?
Hmm.
I know that you talked about like GJ
Yeah, the acting. Okay.
doing that.
So in terms of like voice acting, I think it depends on the person. If I think you're a really bad voice actor, um, what I used to do is I would kind of just like ignore it, and if they messed up, I would edit the audio so that it made sense. And it's so
That's
apparent. I know it's so apparent. But like, if there's a voice actor who hasn't really necessarily proven themselves, yeah, I'll direct you a little bit more. I mean, episode 4, you had GJ Studios as Angel Lawton, who was Floyd Lawton's kid, so Deadshot's kid, and I think Bruce and him were talking on the bench. And basically, I had to get him to emote more. I had him redo this one line a few times. It was the final line where he was like, "Show this to my dad so he remembers what I look like." I just remember like envisioning that in my head because I was kind of pressed for time because that video. Well, the day of episode 4's release, I wrote, animated, and edited 3 different scenes, which was not the smartest idea, I'll admit, but I still think that I still think it was severely warranted. So I was really nervous because I promised people it was gonna come out that day. So I typed in a chat like, "Hey, can anybody voice act this kid?" And then GJ Studio says, "Hey, I can." And then he sent the lines immediately. So that was super convenient. So props to him. But I feel like that's kind of the extent that it really goes to because I don't really feel like I do it that much. I kind of just like get the lines, and then whatever. But it does kind of suck because sometimes I do envision what I want it to sound like. But there's this thing in scripts where I guess this is kind of like a little lesson for everyone who doesn't know about this. But when you're writing a script, there's something called a parenthetical, which basically you put to kind of describe how they're saying it. You don't always get it exactly how you want it, but if he's saying it quietly, you can write quietly in parentheses before the thing. So I try to do that more instead of just like demanding redos of like lines, unless they're like really bad. But yeah, I think I'm fine with voice acting right now as it stands. Like I feel like I have different people now because I only voiced like 2 people in that series, I think, which is better than Night of the Shadows, of course. So.
This is just talking about Batman 60 ripping out of the shadows.
This is Batman 60 propaganda, exactly.
Yeah.
It's what the world needs right now.
Yeah, so, something that we haven't touched on at all, which is something that I should have asked about a while ago. The soundtrack, because I know that you...
Oh, yeah, the soundtrack. Okay, the soundtrack. Okay, I know everyone's thinking, "Oh, come on, you just made like 2 fucking notes. Like, why are you like? You should be a little bit more limp dick about this." No, it's more like it was an interesting journey. Okay, so I think the soundtrack kind of determined the course of the series in a way. Like okay, so you have episodes 1 and 2, or just starting off with episode 1. It's you have the Kyle Fiddler theme. It's like nah nah nah. It's all like high pitched and really like energetic, I guess. I use this bright violin for this Bruce Wayne theme, and what that did is it kind of like made this it created this like tone for the series alongside all the other stuff like the animation choices, style, whatever. It created this tone for the series that kind of made it feel more lighthearted, obviously, which I thought I liked. I liked that about the score. And then, I also tried to incorporate some, I guess, some like themes for each character and stuff. But there was nothing that really went deep. There was like, so when you go to like episode 3, this soundtrack just like completely changes. I have a playlist of like the Batman 60 soundtrack, and I don't have it on me right now, but like, it's like it's really jarring when you go from episodes 2 to 3, because everything gets deeper. I use darker instruments. I switched from violin to cello, and it created more vibrance because whenever I used lighter instruments, it was very like it felt good, because I don't use it all the time, and it wouldn't really fit with say if I use like darker instruments. So episode 3, I wrote this one piece called The Lonely Night, and it was really dark, and I used it in episode 3 a lot. It was like the na 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 na. It was that. I used that, and I played it a lot throughout the other episodes. I think I played it in episode 5 as well. It was the final scene when he's on the rooftop. So it's like I mean, I'd already come up with the theme before. They're all just different variations of the same thing. But it was definitely a lot darker, and I thought it really set the mood. Um, the thing about my soundtrack is it's really symbolic in a way. Um, which I'm not gonna get too much into detail with because I don't have it on me right now, obviously. But I will try to do a lot of things like represent conflicts between Bruce Wayne and Batman, like in episodes 2, whatever. And then I would do a lot of stuff with I guess Andrea's theme or themes because I changed her theme up a lot, but it kind of sounds the same because it's all violin. I've done a lot to kind of represent certain things, characters, ideas, and traits, even just events. Like there was one part in episode 4. This was like one of the favorite things I've ever done, where so basically Deadshot was like getting offered by Riddler to go break out and do crimes, and it was basically this scene that was supposed to set up Deadshot and like how he's like a good person, he's like reformed. So Riddler's just like, hey, do you want a drink? And it's we're immediately our mind is racing because it's like, oh, Kyle Fiddler. So I play his theme, and nobody noticed that, I don't think, but I think like maybe one or two people did. And then it was like, I don't know, I just liked that a lot because it was just callbacks. That's the best part about soundtracks. You can like reference yourself, which is cool. But yeah, I mean, I would kind of just like use the music as like a direct translation from what I was thinking of at the time to show like the actual events on screen. That way, it's kind of like there's two meanings whenever I watch it, which is cool, I guess. But nowadays, I don't really, I don't know. It doesn't. I'm trying to find new ways to change things up. But we'll see. So yeah, that's what I'd have to say about the soundtracks. Overall, I think they're pretty good. I have some really good ones coming for season 2, but yeah.
Yeah. So, the thing that I like about the soundtrack is, because sometimes you'd like run it by me, or SS, and you'd like sing it.
Yeah, I used to do that a lot.
Yeah, I think the thing that I really liked about it, at least my favorite track, was probably the one in episode 5 where the Bruce and the Batman themes come together. I thought that was really.
Oh yeah, you mean the montage before the final fight? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that one. That's like my favorite. That's one of my favorites. It's one of my favorites, I think. Yeah, but just like it's kind of hard to do, but if you kind of just like listen to Batman 60 instead of watching it, you get a new perspective from the show because it's kind of it's when you don't focus on the dialogue and you just focus on because you know what's happening, assuming that you've watched already, and you're just listening to the music. It's a lot different, I guess, and it feels more like an art project than like I don't know, say, series thingy that what it actually is. It feels more like an artistic movie or something because of like the symbolism that I put in it. And maybe I'll go into depth with that in like a video that I make or one day, but like just for like convenience's sake, it's kind of, it makes you look at the show in a new way, I guess, because the music's always been really important. It's not essential to understanding the show, but it's always been really important, and I don't think a lot of people really caught up with that, which I knew, but I don't know. It's just nice to know that that's there in the story.
One of the things that I really admire about Batman 60, kind of just like your artistry, as a creator, which is the art that's behind the art.
Yes.
That you work a lot on the soundtracks and putting those together. I let you work on your own voice acting and like trying to get the characters to sound the way that you imagine that they would sound, so you can get those voices so that you can like hit those places and you can go to those places that you need to go to write the show. I respect the work that's gone behind it because I know that it has to be a lot of work. Just like pressures of everyday life and like working on this massive thing and not even really knowing what the reception of the next episode will be. So I really respect that. I really respect the drive behind the show.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, like, I think the thing about the show is that there was a lot of pressure back then because I was always thinking, how do I top myself? How do I get better? And I would always create this pressure, which I think I succeeded for the most part on making each episode better than the last. But I still think that, you know, if I had sat back and stopped worrying about, like, you know, what was normally in stories, what I could do in stories to make it good, and just kind of focusing on expressing myself, it would have been so much better because, you know, I feel like you really only got that from like episode 3. You know, all the other episodes were kind of just like routine. You know, oh, I learned the lesson. Let's go. You know, episode 3 was kind of different because it was like it wasn't the lesson that you learned that mattered. It was the kind of the feeling. Like the depressed state of moving on that mattered the most, I guess. So that's what I liked about it. But yeah, I guess making a show and figuring out where it's gonna go is difficult because, you know, you don't know where you want it to go, and things could get inconsistent, things could get dirty and rough. But I guess that's kind of the point of making a show, because this is the first show I've ever actually written before, which I think I did a fairly decent job at. You know, but like, because of that, I didn't know what I wanted out of a show in general. On top of not knowing what I wanted out of like Batman 60, I just didn't know how to write a show, so I had to figure it out as I went. So I thought it was a really interesting writing journey for me to do that.
Yeah. So I think this will probably be the final segment of this video, since the video is about to be nearly 50 minutes because we're hitting at 37 minutes right now.
Yeah.
And I don't think my processor is going to be able to process all of this, but it is.
As long as you don't have a Samsung, we're fine.
I got that new iPhone, baby.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We're saved. We're saved.
Yeah. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is the process of finishing the show with the 2-parter finale, and then how you feel going into season 2.
Okay. Yeah, we didn't really talk about the finale in this one. Okay, so I find it kind of interesting because like the final 2 episodes, you get this sense of finality from it, but it makes up the most of the show, and I think it defines most of the show. You know, it kind of solidifies what episode 3 had set up. I could have easily gone back and just, you know, changed things and made it lighthearted again, which I guess I kind of did for episode 4, but there'll always be, like, at least in my opinion, the best episodes because, you know, it was the culmination of everything that had come together. You know, like Riddler's whole arc about, you know, becoming the Riddler, Bruce's arc about, you know, well, he had multiple arcs really, but I guess the main lesson that he learned in those 2 episodes was just like, you know, it kind of resolved everything that happened with Kyle Fiddler. Like, hey, what I did was wrong. You know, I chased Kyle Fiddler down the streets, let Andrea's sister die. That's on me, but people are always going to get hurt, and I need to keep being Batman because that's what this city needs. And believing in himself as well, which is the abridged version of it. I guess I respected that story. I never could relate to it necessarily, Not because I don't relate to the idea of believing yourself, but just because I didn't relate to how I depicted it or how Bruce went through it. I still respected that idea because, it was the ending and it made the most sense because, when you look at episode 5, it's like this is what Bruce could have learned for all the other episodes, so it ties everything together. Um, but I guess I like that, and I guess Andrea, um, her arc wasn't really capitalized on, but I guess I do like the fact that if you follow all of the Andrea scenes, especially in the end of the series or season, you kind of see how she's like reforming. Like she's not as bitter as she used to be in like episode 2 per se. Um, you just get the sense that things are changing. Um, and I think that like if you were to compare like the first scene to the last scene of Batman 60, or second to last scene, but the first scene is like, oh, this Kyle Fiddler's talking to Richard Fiddler. Yes, I called him Richard Fiddler. If you guys get the joke behind that, props to you. Anyway, so it's like establishing this like generic motivation, um, and it's kind of like it feels animated series esque in a way. I like that because then when you watch that and then you watch the funeral scene at like episode 5, it changes so much. And I appreciate that because it made me feel like Batman 60 was a journey, of Bruce literally having to take Andreas' sister, his mistakes, and then bury it in the ground. So that was definitely the resolution to that, and I really appreciate that because I at least I really liked how it was done. My only complaints with episode 5 really are just like I'm not the biggest fan of the Carmine stuff. I wish that it would have been more the main plot would have been more related to what's already been established instead of like, hey, by the way, Carmine is gonna do that because Carmine isn't really relevant to the main story. He will be. Stay tuned, but and I guess besides that, also just making the final fight more interesting because it was kind of just it was there. But honestly, I don't think it wasn't that bad because the main point got across. And I just found out today actually that someone didn't know that Nigma was going to become Riddler. I don't know how, but I guess he didn't. And so I got this comment today, and he was just like, "What the hell? Like what?" So that was really fun to respond to. But I guess there were just a lot of things that were really satisfying to me because I guess if I were to describe Batman 60 in one sentence, from going up from episodes 1 to the finale, it's kind of just like you start out with like a strong concept, but you completely subvert the expectations of what it's going to be, and you just completely change it to which was completely unintentional, obviously. So like no credit to me, but I just thought that was really interesting, and I like that that's in the series. But basing things off of episode 5 going into season 2, like you were saying, I think the thing about season 2 is I kind of stopped production because I wasn't really passionate about what I was doing, which I think was good because I finally put things to a stop. Because I haven't really been truly passionate about Batman 60 since since episode 3. So it was good that I finally put things to a stop and I actually like took initiative to take a break, work on something else, which I'm working on Martian Manhunter. That's something else, and just regroup until when I'm passionate and I can make the story about me again, and I can make the story something interesting. So I'm really excited to do that. I guess a few hints. Carmine is a really big piece. Penguin is a really big piece. Riddler is gonna do a lot of stuff. He's gonna tell riddles, obviously.
Yeah, and we're gonna get some new characters too.
Yeah, and also Bruce is gonna like learn something that's gonna be really, I guess really necessary for his transformation into like solidifying himself as Batman. So that'll be cool. And also, yeah, lots of new characters that are from the comics. Um, No more original characters. Thank God. I hate original characters. That'll suck.
Yeah, something that I really wanted to push for was more original. Was not more original villains, but was more characters from the comics. Not because I didn't want more original villains. I thought those were cool, but I was like, it would be so much fun to do some shit with like Scarecrow or something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so I'm extremely excited. But yeah. Do you have any final things to ask, or just like any things to say to the viewers?
I guess my statement on Batman 6 and my overall look on it is was made by my buddy Jonathan.
I thought you were gonna say made in China for a second. I was like, whoa.
no, me racist. What?
Damn. Okay.
No, but it was made by Jonathan. I think that is something that was a stepping stone, really.
Yeah, that's definitely what it was actually. If I could describe it in one word, then yeah, stepping stone.
Yeah, it was a big moment. It was pivotal for his progression into the way that he is now. And I think.
Yeah, and hopefully season 2 could be just as resourceful to me in that respect. Just letting everyone know, season 2 is probably going to be the last season. That doesn't mean that Batman 60 is over, because I'm probably going to do films. But season 2 is probably going to be the last season.
Yeah, and that's something that you want to do was do some films.
Yeah, because like the main story ends at season 2. But yeah. So I think that's all we have to say. So thank you for your time. Probably Josh.
Yeah, I might be Josh. I don't know. I don't really know my name. Actually, I'm in a basement right now.
I'm sorry, what?
Huh?
All right.
Anyway, so yeah, that's the interview. It's almost an hour long.
47 minutes.
Yeah. Had fun,
Yeah.
Watch Batman 60. Watch it,
Link is in the description if you're watching on YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah,
if you're watching on YouTube, which is probably the only place I'm going to put this because I don't have the audacity to put this on my fucking Instagram.
Okay, fair.
Links in the description to Jonathan. I'll put a playlist in the DCPS playlist so you can watch that. I'll put a playlist link to Batman 60.
Oh yeah, here's a pro tip on how to go navigate the DCBS playlist. Don't watch Lego Aquaman. For the love of God, don't watch Lego Aquaman. Please don't. No. It's satanic.
Yeah. Don't. Yeah. Just like. Yeah. Yeah. So it's been real.
All right. See you.